Nighttime toothbrushing and heart health. What is the link? Introduction. Brushing before bed may matter for more than dental hygiene. A growing body of epidemiological research links poor nighttime oral hygiene with a higher long-term risk of cardiovascular disease, CVD. The question is why this association exists and whether nighttime brushing might play a causal role in reducing heart risk. What the evidence shows. A 2023 meta-analysis called Association Between the Frequency of Toothbrushing and the Risk of Cardiovascular Disease combined 9 cohort studies, 10 reports, including 803,019 adults from Asia, Europe, and the United States. Published on the 12th of June 2023, this meta-analysis found that brushing twice or more daily was associated with a 9 to 15% lower relative risk of major cardiovascular events compared with brushing once or less. The risk reduction persisted even after adjusting for smoking, BMI, diabetes, education, physical activity, and diet patterns. Another major data source comes from the Korean National Health Insurance Service cohort, following 247,000 adults for over 10 years. Published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology in December 2019, the analysis showed that adding one additional brushing session per day lowered cardiovascular risk by about 9%, while regular professional cleaning lowered it by a similar margin. Researchers also examined those with the poorest oral habits. People who brushed less than twice daily and spent under 1 minute brushing showed 2.5 to 3.0 times higher rates of heart attacks, strokes, and heart failure compared with individuals maintaining consistent, thorough brushing. A separate Japanese study in patients with established coronary artery disease, CAD, published in the Journal of Cardiology in May 2022, found that brushing only once daily increased recurrent cardiac events by 60% over 4 years. These findings point in one direction. Poor brushing habits, especially at night, correlate with a higher risk of long-term CVD. Understanding relative vs. absolute risk. The associations are statistically strong, but they are observational. This means they cannot prove causation on their own, even with adjustments for lifestyle factors. Relative risk reductions of 9 to 15% sound large, but across 10 to 20 years, the absolute reduction for a generally healthy person is small. The very large risk increases, 2 to 3 times higher, appear mainly in groups with extremely poor oral hygiene or existing cardiovascular disease. They do not apply equally to the broader population. Even so, the consistency of results across countries and demographic groups strengthens the plausibility of a real physiological link. Why nighttime brushing matters. The causality question. The key is overnight physiology. When you sleep, saliva production drops dramatically. Saliva normally buffers acidity, washes away bacteria, and neutralizes inflammatory byproducts. With little saliva, oral bacteria multiply rapidly. If plaque is not removed before bed, bacterial counts can surge for 6 to 8 hours uninterrupted. This dense overnight bacterial load increases the chance of gingival microulcerations, tiny breaks in gum tissue that you do not feel. These microbreaks act as entry points for bacteria to enter the bloodstream, a process known as bacteremia. Even small bacterial leaks can trigger the immune system. This releases inflammatory cytokines such as IL-6 and TNF-α, which contribute to systemic inflammation. Chronic systemic inflammation is a well-established driver of atherosclerosis. In addition, certain oral bacteria, especially Porphyromonas gingivalis, have been detected inside atherosclerotic plaques. Laboratory studies show these bacteria promote endothelial dysfunction, plaque instability, and thrombus formation. Nighttime is therefore the highest risk period for oral bacterial overgrowth, gum leakage, and systemic inflammation. Brushing at night directly reduces total bacterial load, duration of bacterial exposure, formation of inflammatory toxins, the chance of bacteria entering the bloodstream. By reducing bacterial translocation and inflammatory signaling, nighttime brushing plausibly lowers the long-term risk of cardiovascular disease. This is the mechanistic bridge connecting oral hygiene behavior with heart outcomes. Conclusion. Nighttime brushing is not a magic shield against heart disease, but the evidence clearly shows a consistent association between poor brushing habits, especially at night, and higher long-term cardiovascular risk. The biological reasoning is credible. Lower saliva at night allows harmful bacteria to multiply, enter the bloodstream, and amplify systemic inflammation, which accelerates atherosclerosis. Brushing before bed should therefore be seen as a simple, low-cost habit that reduces oral bacterial load during the most vulnerable hours. It is an important supportive measure for heart health, especially when combined with overall healthy lifestyle choices.